Hi, everyone. Good evening. I am Bella Bablumian. Many of you know me. For those of you who don't, I'm here in Brazil. And today I wanted to share some of my, some of the things that I've learned through personal life and through my studies of nutrition, experimenting with different types of foods, diets, and all that good stuff. I know this is a hot topic right now, given that we've all been stuck at home and have been having access to most of the time unhealthy foods. I know a lot of us. Hi, Larson. Welcome. Yeah, as I was saying, today's topic is probably a contested topic, right? We're going to be talking about food and how to build a better relationship with food. And I know a lot of us are in a situation where we're in close proximity to food all the time. And that, to many of us, that complicates things. And I think I've been hearing a lot of complaints about, gaining a few pounds here and there, and also just not having access to the foods that we had before in restaurants and in different places that where you could potentially get healthier food. So we are kind of on our own. And so today I really wanted to bring you some, my story of how I've built a really positive relationship with food on a personal level and as a wellness professional, as a nutritional consultant. And through the study, I've read and practiced almost every type of possible diet and wellness technique that there is on the face of this planet. I've been a vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free. I was born in a meat-eating society, in Armenia. So I've kind of done it all, been there, done it all, and have studied it all. So I really wanted to share some of my knowledge with you and give you some practical tips for what seems to be, giving a lot of people a difficulty, but also is a foundation of our health. And I don't know, for those of you who are here, I know most of you, I don't know, Larson, if you want to type or insert, is it, have you been, having some issues with food? Are you interested in something specific, or just so I can direct better this webinar? It's always nice to understand what's really important for people to learn about in terms of food.
Yeah, I'm just interested to learn new ways to, for nutritions, especially being here with, different people from different parts of the world. I'm just curious,
Okay.
like with what's going on these days with the coronavirus, and I know nutrition has to do a lot with our health. Normally, healthy people, they don't get affected. Even if they get affected, they can recover quickly. So it
Yes.
depends on the food that you use. I think whatever you eat, it will reflect on your health.
100%. Yes, I
Yes,
can tell you that from personal experience and from, studying nutrition, but
yes,
so
yes.
in overall, right? And if you have any specific questions, feel free to always write in the chat. I'd be happy to address those.
Thank you. I will.
Thank you. Anyone else has anything specific that that they're mostly interested in learning, or I'm really happy to kind of redirect my. Okay, so if no one has questions for now, I will start sharing a little bit. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Bella Bablumian. I'm originally from Armenia, and I've lived in Russia, in the United States, and more recently I've been in Brazil for the last 10 years. So I've been in a lot of on different continents, and I've also, in terms of nutrition and wellness, I've studied it from a lot of different angles. So I'm a certified holistic nutritionist and fitness professional. I've trained a lot of people in gyms and kind of advising them on basic nutrition and how to lose weight, those kind of things. But this was a while ago. And then I worked for 10 years in international health and development. And I've done some advising on kind of population level nutrition, right? So what are some of the governmental policies that we should undertake, from top down to help people eat in a better way, right? And more recently, 3 years ago, I founded Imbody Wellness, which is a wellness company based in Rio, but also, does a lot of trainings internationally, with the idea of bringing people really easy to use tools, knowledge, and information about nutrition, movement, healthy living, purpose. So a little bit of just I call it the things that we should have learned in school, right? How to take care of ourselves. So I try to make it really easy for people to follow healthy living and make it pleasurable. I call pleasurable wellness. So in terms of food, I wanted to share a little bit of my story to highlight something that I call the 4 stages of relationship with food. So a lot of the times we think of relationships with people, right? And if you're in a married relationships or your relationship with children, you have certain things that you are non-negotiable in your relationships. Like you expect certain things in your relationships, and other things are flexible, right? And in the same way, I've defined the 4 stages of relationship to food. And the reason I like to think of it that way is because relationship with food makes it, depending on which phase you're interested in a different aspect of what food has to kind of give you, or what your interaction with food is. And when you get to stage 4, which is I'm going to go through all the stages, you have a much more of a flexible and constructive relationship where you don't have to define all the rules. And what I mean by that, you don't have to, count calories and define which diet you're going to follow exactly, and, obsess about if you've eaten this food or that food on a particular day or not. The idea is that you have the foundation built, kind of the basics of what's healthy, and the rest could be much more flexible based on, which country you're in, whether it's winter or summer and you need heavier foods or lighter foods, whether you are, trying to lose weight or gain weight. It's a constant process. And I really like to think of this relationship as something very fluid. Just like relationships change, so does our need for different foods change. Why is that? Because we, as Larson rightly noted, we are living in times where, food is kind of the foundation of our wellness, right? So based on what we eat, we're going to be feeling in a certain way. And it's not, and some people see it as a kind of important for our immunity. But aside from our immunity, it's also really important for our, aside from physical health, it's really important for our mental health. There's a number of studies showing time and again that the chemicals in food directly influence our hormones and thus create positive or negative emotions. And I'll explain that a little bit more. Go ahead.
I think that has to also with the season. There is some food, seasonal food. If you eat in the season, it would affect your health better than, like here in the United States, you can go to the store and you find, watermelon the whole year round, or you find apples all year round. You find banana. It's become commercialized food, and that would affect your health. I think when I go back to Africa where I'm from, they have the seasons, and the fruits that in summertime, they're sweeter, they're nicer, they're healthier. So you eat whatever it's in season.
That's one of the things I'm going to get at for sure, is because when we eat seasonally, we actually are getting the best from nature. We think like, if I eat, let's say like my mom right there, she lives in California, and if she eats mangoes exported from Brazil, normally they pick them here like super green, And by the time they get to, to California, they're completely, they look good, but they haven't, acquired all the properties that they needed to bring all the benefits. So I think seasonal eating is definitely one of the non-negotiables in a relationship with food, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna open at the kind of closer to the end. I'll open like time for discussion in 15 minutes. So let me get into this part, which is, so I can go to the basics, and then we'll open to the questions also on Facebook. If anyone has questions, you can shoot me those. So I'm gonna share a little presentation here just to make it more visual. I think some of you, some of us are visual, some of us are, I like to use both. So like I said, Embody Wellness is really focused on shifting relationship from, so we don't have to, I worked for many years in preventing like a lot of serious diseases, and I don't want to be on this side of the spectrum anymore. I want to be on a part of the spectrum where we are experiencing pleasure instead of constantly worrying about getting sick and getting pain. We don't need to be on that side of the spectrum. And food is one of the ways that I found that really can help us, prevent us from even getting there, even reaching that negative part of the spectrum. Just like Larson also said in the beginning. We work at the Institute here, we work with nourishment, also movement, and feeling your body. And that's one of the things I also focus with in a relationship with food is, you might be told that, meat is terrible for you, or you have to be vegan, or contrary, you have to eat protein, and, it's the best thing for you is to lose weight, is eating protein. But ultimately, your body is going to tell you that. You're going to be the best judge of that. And if you connect to your body and become your own sort of experimenter and experimentee, what I call it, you'll be creating a lifelong relationship. So I want to quickly just go into this. I told you about the 4 stages of the relationship. So the first one, and I'll tell you about my relationship. So first, I see people, fully disengaged from what they eat. I don't care what I eat. I can eat whatever, right? Okay, well, that's great if we're living in prehistoric times and none of our food was industrialized and all of our foods were coming from trees, falling from trees. Then, we would be good, although then we would have to take care of the, kind of be careful about the poisonous foods, right? But aside from that, we could eat just about everything. And, it's funny because back then, no one told us, how many calories we had to eat, how many grams of protein, right? So keep that in mind. So that's the first phase. It doesn't really work anymore in the societies that we live, especially, the more and more we become, in city centers and industrialized, we have to know what we eat. And we have to know what's in the foods that we think we know, because most of the time it looks like a certain food, but it's not. The second phase is when we start seeing the effect that food has, kind of the superficial. This is the superficial phase of the relationship where you become obsessed with another person, right? Like you only see the superficial aspects, right? The same thing with food. So you only see that you eat food, it makes you feel good, but then, oh, I gained a few pounds. So then you start becoming, some people get stuck in that phase of really becoming obsessed about gaining a few pounds or losing a few pounds, depending if you're a man or a woman, you want to be strong or, and in that phase, you really are not, it's a very non-constructive phase. You're constantly worried about it, right? You're never really flowing with your food, right? You're constantly worried that it's going to make you feel bad, but you also really want it. So it's that not a good phase to be in. The third phase is where normally this third phase happens when you have some kind of a health issue, God forbid, but if you do, a lot of people become really obsessed now about seeing that food has affected their health in very direct ways, or that, if they eat good foods, they all of a sudden can heal problems that medical doctors can't heal. And this has happened to me. I'll show my story. And then you become obsessed about this, a more advanced type of relationship, I call it, because then you really understand kind of the dynamics of food, that it can give you all the right nutrients and all the right minerals and everything you need to really construct the vital health that you need, vital energy. But that relationship also could be at a disequilibrium if you're constantly worried, because our mind is really important as well. If you're only worried about, if you're only like physically well, but you're constantly in that worry process of what you're eating or not eating, that's also not a type of relationship that's comfortable. Like you're constantly, you can't just relax, right? And relaxation while you're eating and just really savoring every bite and everything you eat is really important. So that leads us to the fourth phase, which is where we want to find ourselves, is this constructive relationship. So defining the frameworks, or defining what's really non-negotiable, like, you know, and this is, we're going to go into, you know, some toxins, or, you know, we have to avoid toxins at all costs. That's a non-negotiable. Our body was not made to consume toxins. Or, you know, eating the as much as possible seasonal fruits, like Larson said, very important as well. So, but we'll talk about what those are. And when you reach that phase, you really are just, you know, you understand the importance of food on your health, right? The relationship is very strong, but you also know that you don't have to obsess about it, right? Sometimes you'll eat something that's off your, you know, regular diet, but that's okay, because your body wanted that at that moment, and then you go back to your regular diet. Or maybe you shift, you know, you go from being a vegetarian to eating meat once a week, or, you know, once a month. I think our world is really going through a shift, and, you know, like becoming a little more fluid, right? In that sense, when we find ourselves defining things too rigidly, we end up setting ourselves up for failure, right? If you say like, I'm a vegetarian and I'm gonna stop eating meat, and then if you're constantly craving that meat, like if that's natural for you, okay, but if you're constantly craving that meat, you know, at some point you're gonna have that slip and you're gonna feel bad about yourself, and that's not the point of, you know, eating well. So now a little bit about my story. So I came from Armenia to the US when I was 11, or no, sorry, when I was 14. And I was, up until 14, I was in a disengaged phase, right? So I didn't really care about what I ate. In my culture, whatever you have on your plate, you have to finish it. That was the rule. And, you know, we're a very meat loving culture, and lots of bread, you know, so it was whatever was given to me, I normally ate, except for a few times that my mom threw potatoes on my head because I didn't finish my we had those stories as well. So, but then when I moved to the United States, then it was the phase of really being bombarded with magazines and images of what I should look like, and all these different fad diets. From this group over here, anyone has gotten on a diet, if you can unmute yourself and tell me. I've tried all of them. I've tried the, you know, fat-free diet, the whatever, the one that I didn't try is that cabbage diet, you know, that horrible cabbage soup diet that everyone was trying at the time. And, you know, diet products, like, you know, the sugar-free and whatever free, all of those products that you think are gonna, you know, make you thin and make you look good. I, you know, tried them all, because back then I had no idea what those things did to my body. And I found out the really hard way, because I got really sick in after 3 years of doing that. So basically, because I cut out healthy fats from my diet, because I thought obviously it was fat that was causing me to, you know, gain extra pounds or whatnot, or whatever, be above the limit that what I thought was acceptable in that culture. And what happened is that my stomach lining was really, oh, Jackie tried most of it too. So my stomach lining was really thinning out. And this is, I found out later, right after 4 years of struggling with digestive issues that had gotten so bad that I was actually going to all kinds of specialists, thinking I had a very serious problem. And I was actually diagnosed with really serious problems, but later to find out that that wasn't really what was causing my issue, right? It was all food related. So like I said, I was eating not enough fat, right? I guess few of us here that you can eat not enough fat, right? So my stomach got really thin, and then I was eating a lot of, you know, kind of, you know, sugar-free and whatever, like wheat products, right? And they were getting, and then I became really allergic to wheat. Why? Because it started getting into my bloodstream, and I started having an inflammation issue. So when this happens, actually this could happen if you have any experience, any inflammation or any sort of, you know, your head is not, like you seem like you're not fully, you know, energized when you wake up in the morning, or, you know, it might be that, you know, a lot of the foods that we eat these days are very much polluting to us if we eat them too much, right? So we could say that about meat, we could say that about dairy products. It's anything that's really mass produced too is an issue. So one issue is that you're eating too much of it. And the other issue is that, for example, wheat, you know, rice and corn, they're mass produced and they're sprayed with as much pesticide as possible if they're not locally produced,
organic.
If not organic, or if they're not, you know, those kind of produced by small farmers, right? So two issues with eating foods, of eating the same food too much, right? And eating from the foods that are kind of the most popular, like wheat products, like wheat is everywhere. And so I soon enough found that out, and I became allergic to wheat. So in order to heal that, I spent 4 years basically not eating wheat at all, which was really terrible and, you know, really difficult. But I tried being a vegetarian. But then I found out that, for example, when you're in that state, you can't eat too many fruits because they're too acidic, right? So I had to also cut down from eating too many, you know, too many foods. So you see how, you know, something that was really healthy normally, right? Fruits could be unhealthy in your situation. I had to feel it. I felt that it was just causing pain in my stomach. So, and finally, I was able to, after 4 years, come to a phase where I healed myself. I had none of the gluten issues. I had none of the, you know, stomach issues. I went back to normal after spending 4 years, like waking up exhausted and not having any energy and feeling like an old lady. And this was in my early 20s. So you can imagine how terrible that must have been for someone who was super energetic always. But then I reached that third phase where I was obsessed now about everything I ate. And that wasn't also very good, because then I was constantly like, if we didn't get the right foods, you know, from the right store, then I was freaking out. And then, you know, the stress reaction was having a negative effect on my health as well. So in reality, it was coming to terms that sometimes I can eat unhealthy foods, whatever that means. And sometimes, you know, and most of the time healthy foods. So now I want to share with you what those non-negotiables to me are, and they could be different for everyone, but I think the non-negotiables are kind of similar for most people. So let's look at the presentation here. Let's go here. So can you guys see it well? So yeah, if you have any problems, just let me know. Okay. So if you've tried any of these diets, sure, a lot of the diets might work initially. You know, if you go, for example, on a paleo diet, right, you eat mostly protein and you cut out carbohydrates, you might lose weight, but it's going to be mostly water, right? And it's very unhealthy for your kidneys because you're putting too much pressure on your kidneys to process so much protein. And eventually you're going to gain all of that weight back, you know, if you start eating something else. And a lot of people who go on paleo diets, they end up cutting out really healthy, you know, grains and you know, whole grain products and carbohydrates that are complex, that are really important, that are also critical for taking out toxins from our body. So same thing with, for example, vegan. Just because you're vegan doesn't mean you're healthier. I've recently been to a holistic doctor who who told me that he sees many more unhealthy vegans than people who eat some meat. Why is that? Because just because you're vegan doesn't mean you're eating all these vegetables. A lot of vegans just go and start eating pizza and fried foods and whatever, tofu that's made from soy that's transgenic and sprayed with tons of pesticides. So also not necessarily not obvious. So here I made a small kind of question and answer. This is for you to see if you're feeling any of those things, it might mean that you're not eating optimally, because basically food really can make or break our health, right? So really any serious issue in health we can trace it back to eating unhealthy, according to a lot of schools, but a lot of wellness and health schools. But these are some of the indications in the beginning that you might not be eating well, right? If you're feeling bloated all the time and feel discomfort in your stomach, or you're feeling sluggish and you're not really feeling energized. If you're underweight, overweight, obviously it's one of the most obvious issues, but it's not, you shouldn't focus just on that, because you could be overweight but healthy and underweight but unhealthy. So be careful with using just your weight as a factor for knowing whether or not you're eating well. Uncontrollable cravings. If you can't stop eating that bag of chips, or if you can't stop eating that chocolate, there might be an underlying lack of some kind of nutrient that you're feeling. I have a chart that shows that, some of the nutrients that, you think you have a sweet tooth, but in reality you're missing like nitrogen in your system, like some surprising nutrients. So also food can really contribute to and also take away from all different aspects of our life. So restful sleep. If you're eating right before you go to sleep, especially heavy foods, you might not be getting very restful sleep. You might wake up tired the next day. Why? Because sleep is the time when our body is really working on, boosting that immunity, working all the magic that it's supposed to work. And if you just ate, it's going to focus only on digestion, and it's not going to do any of the other things. So you're going to wake up exhausted and bloated. Food and exercise. Lean can tell you, like if you're an athlete and you're not eating enough of the complex carbohydrates, or even simple ones in cases of going on long rides, you will not have enough energy. And it's not just carbohydrates, it's also nutrients. I think we had a talk with Lean 2 years ago where, sorry if I'm giving too many examples on you, Lean, but you're an athlete. So where she was missing some, real nutrients from her life, the vitamins and minerals, and they seem like small things, just fruits and vegetables, who cares? I'm an athlete. No, but when she started eating a lot of the, boosting that aspect of her health, adding fruits and vegetables to her diet, she saw a dramatic difference. And she can tell us about later. But food and self-esteem, if you're not feeling good about yourself, and you're a little bit overweight, or you're bloated, and food can really affect your self-esteem. And of course, mental health, we talked about it, but I'll show you a chart about that as well. So also on diets, why it's, if you avoid if you cut out an entire food group from your diet, you can really disrupt some important health processes in your body. So really, you really have to understand what you're doing before you decide to cut out, protein, or completely cut out carbohydrates. If you're eating too much of a certain food, you're accumulating toxins and, some free radicals in case of proteins, let's say. Or if you're eating just one food, then like we said, you might be eating from a food group that has, for example, fish. You cut out meat and you only focus on fish, but fish might have mercury in it. So if you're only eating fish, then you might be getting too much mercury, which is bad for you. So I'm all about equilibrium, right? And eating from all food groups in moderation. So for years, and when I studied nutrition like 15 years ago, And it's still being taught that we need to focus on macronutrients, micronutrients, and kind of understand all the different elements, divide food into elements to understand how to eat better, right? So we have to have 30 grams, 30% of our food from fats, whatever, or 25%, and then 50% from carbohydrates and 25 from protein. But what happens is, first of all, even nutritionists find it difficult to follow all of these, rigid requirements. And secondly, my mom can explain, she's a biochemist, that there's so many different interactions between, one enzyme and the coenzyme that it needs in order to start a certain process in your body, the energy releasing process, or that one vitamin without another one might not work. It needs the precursor. That if you try to focus just on, kind of micro and micronutrients, you will for sure get it wrong. It's not possible to solve all of your issues with just, adding and subtracting. It doesn't work that way in the body. It's a really complex process. And I'm coming to the conclusion after studying for you that we weren't supposed to understand it in such detail in order to eat well. That's kind of the conclusion that I get. And this is why, because like, even if you look at just vitamin D, for instance, look at vitamin D. It's, look at how many functions it has in the body. Look at it, like it's brain, it's responsible for respiratory, pancreatic function, circulatory, muscle. If you're not getting enough vitamin D, you might get muscle aches, and it could lead to things like cancer, influenza, tuberculosis. This is just one vitamin D. But what does it need? If you just pop vitamin D, which is actually also being proven to, some studies have shown that it could prevent and reduce the mortality in case of COVID, right? But if you just start popping vitamin D, that might not be enough, because look at the cofactors, vitamin D cofactors. What are cofactors? They're necessary in the time of consuming and absorbing vitamin D into your system for it to work, right? So you need magnesium, zinc, boron, vitamin K2, and other enzymes to metabolize vitamin D. If you're missing them in your system at that moment, vitamin D will just go straight through and get out of your system. So not to confuse you, but to show that it's really almost impossible for a layperson, or even for a specialist, to eat according to all these rules, right? And then look at vitamin, where you can get it from also, right? So it's just interesting. So I don't want to focus too much on vitamin. This is just an example. Also, if we try to divide things up into like macronutrients, it's not exact science either. Why? Because basically what you're doing is you're saying that each food is a certain food. So let's say like, oh, I'm eating wheat and I'm only eating carbohydrates. Well, no, because it's divided up, right? You can see that even wheat that we consider as a carbohydrate has fiber, fat, and protein in it. So it's not really exact science. Just to say that it's a little complex. So only to say that this is the reason I created this approach. 1 second. So what is this holistic eating approach? Let's look at this. So focusing on holistic foods instead. Not necessary to know everything to eat well. So these are my non-negotiables, and I wanted to share them with you. They worked really well for me with all my health problems. I was able to really become free of all of my health issues, and I've been living a really stress-free, like stress-free life from food, and just really enjoying a relationship with healthy foods, but also enjoying everything in moderation. So first one, as you can see, Larson, it's get foods in their most natural state. And it's not only seasonal, but of course, our foods are loaded with toxins and processed, and all these things are added into it to make it taste better, to make it look better, to make it last longer on shelf life. So I can send you guys, if you're interested, a chart later that shows all the toxins and all the different things that you should avoid. I don't want to go into it because there's just like way too many of them, but it's a mouthful. There's scientists out there that spend their whole life and day to day working to make you addicted to foods. And you know, it's pretty bad. We should avoid. So the easiest way to go about it, if you really fill up on produce as much as you can, and when you have to get packaged food, look for it to have less than three or four ingredients. And if it's an ingredient that you don't know how to pronounce, then it's probably not good for you. And unfortunately, that's the best rule of thumb that I can give you. Excluding toxins and additives. So that's what natural food really comes down to. Experimentation is really important, right? So a lot of us really get stuck on eating the same food. My mom will tell you, my dad for, I don't know, years or decades would eat oatmeal every morning. So oatmeal is really healthy for you, but, maybe he was missing that, I don't know, for example, oatmeal has soluble fiber, but you need also insoluble fiber. So maybe if he was eating more buckwheat, in one day and another day oatmeal, he would have gotten much more benefits from it. So it's a healthy food, but if you're eating it all the time, it might not be optimal for your body. So always changing colors, taste, flavors, and the best way to try it is, again, going to organic markets and really seeing what's in season. Again, that comes down to that. One thing that I really found to work for me, and this is something not something I studied in nutrition schools or anywhere kind of in the conventional nutrition, is fermented and sprouted foods. So living foods. Why are they important for us? So for instance, in my case, when I had the digestive issues, I lost a lot of my friendly bacteria. And friendly bacteria are not only there to help digest your foods, right, which is one of their big functions, but now they're showing that actually our immune system is, if not half of it, like almost more than half of it is really in our gut. So if we don't have enough of that friendly bacteria, we are actually limiting our immune response. And it's kind of a contested topic right now, because we're constantly worried about pathogens right now. Yes, but we have to remember that it's this interaction with living bacterias and and even sometimes pathogens is important for boosting our immune response, right? So this is a little controversial, but it's always been the case. Like kids, if you want them to be healthy, put them on in mud and have them play with mud, and don't worry about them eating food from the ground so much, because even mud has a lot of ingredients that are, or particles that are important for digestion and immunity. Fermented foods also. So all cultures, I think, I don't know how many, we have a lot of different cultures here. I don't know if you guys can tell me. So in Armenia, we use a lot of yogurt. Anyone from here? I think, Lean, do you guys eat a lot of sauerkraut, or is that more of a German thing? Anyone else has a fermented food that you use in your culture? No? I see someone unmuting. Larson, you have a food that you guys eat?
Yeah, we use a lot of yogurt.
Yogurt too?
It's like cheese, actually. It's cheese like from goat cheese.
Where is this? Where in Africa, you said?
From Morocco.
Ah, Morocco. Okay.
Yeah.
We have a lot of
yeah, but we use a lot of preserved food, a lot of olives and vegetables and
yeah.
Yeah.
And we have that in Armenia too. It's called tatu. Yeah. It's the fermented.
A lot of preserving, because what happened is, let's say if the olives in season in summertime, you need to preserve them for the whole year. So you just use salt and water, and they stay fine. Yep. Instead now they put them in a can with all these chemicals.
Oh, it's horrible.
And that's how they preserve them, and that's basically it's like cancer. I mean, canned food for me is like cancer. That's why I call it cancer.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't eat canned food at all.
Good for you. I don't think I don't know when the last time I got a can actually.
Because
Yeah,
a can, I mean, how can you keep something in a can for years and you eat it? It's crazy.
that's that's actually another way to a good rule of thumb. Like if you see a food that can stay on the shelf for longer than like a month, then avoid it. It's like it's not natural.
I mean, we do that, but we use salt, we use
salt
vinegar,
yeah.
we keep the meat can stay for 2 years. No, just put it in the sun, dry it in the sun.
Yeah. So what's the point of fermented foods, right? I mean, all cultures have them in one way or another. And fermented foods are really packed with enzymes and this like living bacteria that really help us with our digestion, and again with boosting that supply of the living bacteria that we have in our stomach. And I have a really amazing specialist that Brazilian, Josie Ribeiro. I hope to have her on one of our next webinars. She works only with living foods, and basically she explains. Let me show you this chart. The living foods here. They have sprouted foods, cultured foods, foods that are still growing, right? So like seeds that have been fermented, and foods with their enzymes intact. So as soon as you cook food, it's not, you've killed the enzymes. So
it's not live anymore,
Yeah, so anytime you can get these superfoods, I call these superfoods, not like one or another food, but when food is living and has those living bacteria or enzymes, or, it wasn't the vitamins, minerals, and enzymes weren't killed, you're giving yourself like the best way to fight off any infection and your immunity. And that's one of the things that, in these days, that we're all worried about not getting, it's really important for us to remember to get those. And I'm going to recommend how to do that. Jackie, you have a question. You can.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
You told us about foods that cannot stay, shouldn't be food that are in the shelves for over a month should be avoided. And I just bought a bunch of yogurts that will last until August. Wow.
Do you have it? Do you have it on you? Can you show me the ingredients?
Well, I have to go to the fridge. But
if you want to bring it, because basically yogurts should only have milk and enzymes, right? And what's it called? I forget what it's called, but it's that bacteria that you put It's bacteria that you put into the milk to really ferment. That's all they really need. Maybe some salt, but if you start seeing like modified food, cornstarch, or inverted sugars, or then it will last much longer than the natural yogurts. When my mom and we make yogurt, my grandma makes a lot of yogurt. It lasts for like 3 days in your refrigerator, and you're like, we didn't finish it. We have to now throw it away. But that's real food, not the one that's gonna last there for.
I think what she was trying to talk about more is about canned food, like vegetables and.
No, but that too, even yogurts these days, like you have to be really careful if it's
So it's just yogurt. I think more yogurts that we have, there's too much sugar on it, a lot of sugar.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
too sweet. You don't even taste yogurt. Try that Greek yogurt is good. The Greek type yogurt.
Yeah. If you, because this is also what happens when they try to make it fat-free or reduced fat, right? But when you do that, you're actually, you have to substitute the consistency in some way, right? For it to be yogurt consistency. So you have to add something chemical that's not natural to make it stay and look like yogurt and taste like yogurt. And that's when, we really face problems. So, and one other rule I'm going to go over is not mixing some foods. So this is basically what healthy eating looks like to me. So I really recommend is just forget about not eating too many food, right? Like focus on what you can eat. And that should really come from as many vegetables and fruits and produce as you can get. This part here is this yellow part is, oh, sorry. Where did it go from? Okay. that part is basically like, you know, grains, whole grains. So try to get them in the raw, basically like the grain state, and then cook them, or like beans as well. And I recommend that you soak them overnight before cooking, because then you get rid of the what are they called? Basically factors that inhibit digestion, right? It's not fully, you know, it's kind of, in this relationship with food, it's kind of going to that even better level, right? Like 5th level. But it's like, if you can soak it, good. If not, just having the bulk of your foods. And even if you go shopping, rule of the thumb, first fill up your cart with vegetables, fruits, and grains, and maybe nuts and seeds. Forget about everything else. And then if you have some room left, then go to the other aisles. This part here, I call the healthy fats, right? So you see like nuts, avocados, and seeds. We forget about seeds, guys. Like seeds are seeds are actually what's a seed? It's when you plant it, it gives life, right? So seeds still contain life. And the more seeds that we eat, the more of this living force we can get. And seeds are actually, if you put them in water for 8 hours, they start reawakening this life inside of them, and that's really healthy. You can put them, you know, flax seeds and whatever, chia seeds into your smoothies, and you know, sprinkle it on your salads or whatever. And this category, so the meats, dairies, and the animal protein, it's a very contested category. Some swear by being vegan, some swear by, you know, eating protein. So what's my opinion on this? If we were eating organic, you know, small farmer produced milk and dairy that's not full of hormones, antibiotics, we would be okay. And we need to eat it in much smaller quantities than we're eating it now. If you feel healthier being a vegetarian or vegan, by all means, it's great. I've done it myself. And I think, you know, as a society, as the world, we need to dramatically reduce our consumption of meat. But I think that especially some kinds of blood types actually were made to digest meat. And same thing goes for dairy, while others have not. So for example, it's an interesting fact that I found out about dairy. I don't know if, I think Morocco might fall into that as well. But basically when people migrated from Africa to you know, the European colder regions, they stopped getting as much sun, right? And you know, in Africa, when we were living in Africa, we were getting our vitamin D, you know, from the sun. But when we moved to like the Nordic regions, especially, well, at first in the Mediterranean regions, we needed some kind of something to add vitamin D to our diet. And so milk and dairy products came to the rescue. But most people, the population at the time, didn't have an enzyme to digest milk. We weren't supposed to. It's only, you know, only babies were supposed to drink milk, and only calves, right? So we didn't have that enzyme. But about 30% of the population actually got a mutation in order to be able to digest dairy. So even though I think 70% of the population really should not consume any dairy, at least in large quantities as we do, because it is something that our bodies we don't absorb well. But I, for example, don't get as much of a reaction for dairy as my husband does. My husband gets severe allergic reactions. His nose gets stuffy, and you know, he can't breathe well. Some people get, you know, inflammation. But me, you know, I got the privilege of being born in Armenia. I got that mutation, for better or for worse. And same thing goes for meat. It's been shown that, for example, some like blood type O's, for example, it's easier for them to digest meat than for the A and B blood types, and AB as well. So it really comes down to seeing what feels good. But even if you do consume animal protein, I suggest you do it in moderation, right? Because it's always something that could add up. And the focus again on foods that grow. And the way to choose them, I really like focusing on color. What's behind color? so color is actually not just, you know, evolutionarily, we could kind of catalog colors in our head by, you know, because no one would tell us like what's healthy, what's unhealthy, right? So we catalog this relationship with colors by, you know, trying, test and trial, what's it called? Test and trial, right? Trying it out and seeing if it tastes good or not. But the colors actually represent certain phytochemicals inside the different fruits and vegetables. So phytochemicals are basically components that we really need for, you know, for example, like we have the deep greens are responsible for anti-cancer properties, let's say, right? The reds are responsible for anti-inflammatory functions. The deep purples and blues are, the phytochemical there is anthocyanin, right? It's healthy heart and lower blood pressure function. The yellows and oranges protect our immune system functioning and also healthy, you know, give us healthy eyes. And then browns and whites, like the onions, for example, are antiviral and antimicrobial. So as you can see, it's instead of making it rocket science, we can just really make sure we eat colors. That's why they say, you know, eat colors on your plate. And choosing color in accordance to also to the seasonal availability is always what the best thing really is having an organic basket delivered to your door. I don't know if you guys have that option in your wherever you're living, but it's good because you get something that you don't know what you're gonna get, but it's always, you know, it's seasonal and you know it's organic. So that's one of the best ways you can do, and that and just to make sure that we, like I said, I promised to send you this list of pesticides and things like that, but some of the worst of the worst, I try to highlight what to avoid. So reduce as much as possible white flours and sugars. Stay away from pesticides and processed foods. So pesticides, right? Like if you eat organic, as much organic as possible in produce, but also remember that the processed foods also can be organic and non-organic, right? So if you're eating whatever crackers, just because you didn't know if it's organic or not or organic, it's non-organic, right? Like you have to see like if the ingredient was picked was organic or not. So luckily nowadays you have a lot of organic options as well. Again, I said like as much as you can reduce animal products, right? That are stacked with hormones and antibiotics, because antibiotics basically reduce our ability to, you know, when we really do need an antibiotic, they're not going to work as well. And of course, like eating antibiotics, you know, on a daily basis is not the best thing for our body. And hormones actually make us, aside from causing cancer and all these other things, they actually make us fat. So if you're worried about your waistline, eating non-hormone foods is really important. Why do they spray cows with hormones? Because they want them to grow fat and give as much milk as possible, right? So you don't want that same hormone in your blood, especially if you're a woman. It could cause a lot of problems, and you know, in your like breast, ovarian cancer, because it's that hormone that produces the effect of like uncontrollable growth, and that's what we don't want. Those are some, you know, plastic and all of those things, you know, like the prescription drug medications and all of the things that I'm going to send you in a list really are not only make us, those also interfere with our normal regular processes in our body, right? Digestive processes, immune processes, so they get into our lymphatic fluids and they really interfere with everything. So, and aside from that, they, you know, I can really say that you could probably trace every disease back to those terrible additives that are in our foods, in our cosmetics, and in our what are they called? You know, product shampoos and things like that, right? Let's see if there's anything else. This is something that's not well known, but I found it to work really. This comes from Chinese medicine, actually, from the Asian traditions, which really is incredible because all we eat, this is food combinations, right? So all we really eat these days is, you know, animal protein and grains is like the most popular thing, right? So think about it. what's the last meal that you ate? Anyone? Probably it combines some kind of a grain and some kind of animal protein, right? You know, sandwiches with ham and, you know, eggs with bread and rice and whatever, some kind of a beef. The Asians, Jackie, are you saying something?
Yeah, well, my meal was healthy. Was carrots and home cooked tomato sauce, lettuce, and broccoli and cauliflower. So yeah, and yeah,
wow.
There's some, you know, that I help as much as possible.
Good for you. I need to hire you as my spokesperson, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you eat, you know, animal protein and grains, which is really hard for me too, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I love my eggs with toast, you know. But I have noticed that when you don't combine them in one sitting, like you eat your eggs in, you know, in one sitting and then you eat bread 2 hours later, what happens is that apparently our proteins require acidic digestive juice to digest, whereas grains require a alkaline one. And so if you put them together, your body produces both and they cancel each other out. And so your food kind of sits there and doesn't digest well, it rots. So I've noticed that I get more energized when I eat according to this. It's not easy, I'm not gonna lie, but if you try it out and see it works, it's a good way to. Also fruits, like this is, I see it all the time. Don't mix your fruits with anything. That's one thing. Like people say like, oh, put fruits wherever in your yogurt and whatnot. Eat your fruits alone. Don't mix them with anything. That's one of the things.
We have a very common one when we eat. We don't mix hot with cold.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
Like you eat a salad, or then you drink hot tea, or you drink hot food with Coke with ice. That's really hard for your.
Yeah, it's too many contrasts, right? Your body, it's like,
the temperature
what's happening?
of the food. Yeah.
No, I agree. And also, you know, dairy and animal protein, like our favorite. What's Jackie? What's that one that beef stroganoff, right? The sour cream with meat. Terrible combination, guys.
Brazilian.
Very well. It comes from Russia, actually. You know, my grandfather used to make that one a lot. So, yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
But I understood that we in Brazil do a very different thing than the original.
Yeah. You guys add a lot of like the tomato. I don't think we had any tomatoes added. I might be wrong, but anyways, it's a similar. The dairy part is similar. We use sour cream. You guys use the more like creme de leche, right? Which is that cream. So, but it's a similar deadly poison for the body.
Okay.
Oh, so guys, I think this is like, there's a lot of information I could share with you, but really what I want to leave you with, and then we're going to open up for questions and discussion, is really whichever stage you find yourself in this relationship with food, I really invite you to explore this next phase where you really get comfortable with food. And really it comes with knowing your body and understanding your body and being connected to it. So Nietzsche said that, you know, there's more wisdom in the body than your deepest philosophy. And if Nietzsche said it, imagine the greatest philosopher, then that means something. And this is a fun chart to close with. So remember I was saying, like, if you have really strong cravings, so what you crave is on the left side here. What your body is actually missing, if you're craving, let's say chocolate, you're missing magnesium most likely. It's not exact science, but it's so what they suggest is eating nuts and seeds instead of chocolate, and seeing if it'll abate your craving for chocolate. You know, in the beginning it might be hard, but I've really seen this in myself. You know, the minute I start developing cravings, it's not because I'm really like, oh, I crave that food. No, it's actually like I'm missing some kind of nutrient in my body. And that's why, for example, when you get pregnant, you have this strong craving, some kind of a food, because that, like, your body really needs that nutrient. And so you really need to make sure you give, especially in this life creating phase of your life. But in general as well, pay attention to these cravings, but don't give in to them blindly, because your body is actually asking you for something important. So try to like research and see what it might mean. And I think that's, yeah, and there's a lot more, but I will share it on some other occasion, because there's, so I just wanted to also close in inviting you. I have this really cool program starting next week. It's called Reset 21. So basically it's about, if we want to change our life, we want big transformation, we start with small changes. And it's exactly the things that, like, nutrition is one of them. It's going to be a 21-day journey. We're gonna look at habit change, healthy living, and also like purpose and passion, because I think they're really connected. So you'll be getting here like interactive live videos on a daily basis, videos and practical tools, and then you try these things at home. That only will take you 21 minutes per day. But by the end, the idea is to have this kind of daily planner where you decide how you're going to take care of your body in different ways, in terms of nutrition, in terms of, you know, connecting to your body, in terms of like meditation and breathing. So it's kind of an opportunity for you to see what you might not be doing, you know, what you might optimize in your day to day. Just like we plan our business, we need to plan our health and wellness, I think. So just to leave you with that, I'm really open to questions, comments. Let me stop sharing this thing so I can see you guys. Does anyone have any comments, questions, disagreements, agreements?
Agreement is
I see.
Well, I most certainly have a lot of comments.
Okay.
And, yeah, and one of the things that you've been telling me since we've met is the importance of having a personal map for each person. And now I finally get it.
Why?
So,
why now?
Yeah, I finally understood why you were really focusing on that, because what I need is very different from a guy needs or someone in a different group age, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also, you know, as women especially, we have a lot of fluctuations in our, you know, during the different, our cycles, right? So we need different foods at different phases. For men as well, I mean, you go through different phases of your life where you might need more or less food, where you might need heavier food. If it's cold, or if, you know, if it's hot, you might not crave you know, as much food. You might eat lighter food. So it's really important to follow these things and not kind of, you know, not set yourself up. For example, like I used to love having really heavy breakfast in the morning. I just woke up starving, and you know, these days I don't like that. I like having my smoothie and then doing my activities and then later on having something, you know. So, and you know, people are really different, and we are different from day to day. So I really like the idea of constructing your day. Each day you wake up is a new opportunity, right? To learn more about yourself and what.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Mom, you have a question? I can't hear you. Hold on. Let me unmute you. Unmute yourself. You're on mute.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to talk about the vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't mention that even if we have balanced and healthy habits to eat, but I think we still need to add some good vitamins, right, not the chemical vitamins, but the vitamins that's coming from food, from plants, or from natural sources. So I think it's very important, because the recent food are very much not enriched with that all nutrients that we had, like for example 100 years ago. So unfortunately we had to add that to our daily routine. And also, you haven't talked about water. In order our body to absorb everything, we better get a little more water than we use. Most of the people used to take. I think it's also very important. And the last thing I wanted to say that, like you said about listening our body, but most of us have very bad habits.
Yes.
To eat not very good, and at the beginning we have to force a little bit to change to the good habits, and when our body become more doing by consciously doing good things, then that bad habits change to good habits. And then one day we find out that, oh, I don't want to eat anymore that processed food, that junk food. I want to eat very good food because my body wants to eat it. Yeah. So I think, at the beginning it will be difficult. So
it's difficult, but no, I agree with you. But I think that it's really important to pay attention to your body, even when you have the negative cravings and, you're not really, you have unhealthy habits, and understand, for example, why are you craving those foods that are unhealthy for you, and how do you feel after eating them? So really paying attention to what happens before the craving, during the fact that you eat it, and how you feel afterwards really helps you identify that maybe this is not working for me. Because a lot of times when people have unhealthy habits, we'll eat something and then we're like, we don't even know that we're feeling bad because of that food. So really understanding that there is that strong relationship with food is really important. The water, I agree with you, but it's, I address it in that 21-day challenge. This is too much to talk about, but water is something you see, I drink, because our body really, it's, 75% water, or whatever it is, right? And 90% if you're a child. So water, and good water, right? Not chlorinated and whatever, mineral water. So for sure. Thanks, Mom. Larson, you have a question?
Yeah, just about water, like your mom said. I think waking up in the morning before you eat anything, and you have a big cup of warm water, not cold water, in your stomach.
Room temperature, yes.
That would do a lot to your body. Before you eat anything, before you drink anything, before you do just drink. I mean, I'm doing now for about 3 years. It was easy, but now I wake up, I need to drink a bottle of water first.
Yeah.
It's just something, to me, just something clear, nice to your body. First thing you put in your body, instead coffee or.
Your metabolism wake up.
It's clean, something clean to your body. And for vitamin D, just been in the sun for 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. I think it would help out. Just 10, 15, be in the sun for 10, 15 minutes. But that would help you a lot.
Yeah, that's the thing that,
you will never get COVID.
Yes. I mean, back home, we literally, we have so far, I mean, I'm just saying 220 people died so far, but everybody else they get it, they're out because they eat a lot of spices. They don't drink cold. There's no ice in the water, nothing, because that's what the virus likes cold. So when you eat cold, it gets stuck in you.
Yeah. And we forget how it's actually the really small habits, like you said, 15 minutes in the sun, a glass of water, eating that fruit, and it's small things really make big difference in our, when people try to change their habits, they think I have to change everything immediately. But even if you do that one thing like water, or if you do that one thing like not eating late, before not eating late, and really sleeping with your stomach that makes a huge difference in your body, and you can see the effect almost immediately, right?
And so as you mentioned earlier about bacteria, a lot of times now people use a lot of sanitizers. They're killing good and bad bacteria. You don't want to overreact. You have a little headache, let it work. Your body is trying to fight something. Give some time to your body to fight it. And then if it really got worse, then have a pill. People here, I used to know people have 7 pills at the same time. Like, oh my God, what are you trying to do? It's your body's getting. And they kill their immune system. It's just crazy. Let your body fight it for a minute. You're not gonna die. Just relax, and then your body will take care of it. If you. But what can you do?
Yeah, we live in a really difficult times now. It's also. I think what fuels all of this is that we don't know. very much about this crazy thing, right? So,
Yeah.
and it's, you know, and it's something that, but I think what it really highlights is our you know, our health systems really need to change. That's one thing that I see is like someone that worked with health policy, you know, where you have good health systems, you don't have as much mortality. No matter how many people get infected, if you have a good health system and you admit people, you know, that's one thing. But also we forget exactly this relationship with that our body is magical, powerful, and it has all the capacity to fight. You know, a lot of people are compromised, so it's a really sensitive topic. We can't. I've heard cases even of people that are super healthy and everything and get pretty bad infections. But the point of the matter is that we really need to not forget this powerhouse that we have, and the foods available to us and the nature available to us to really strengthen our immunity, strengthen our body, mind, and really this feedback that we have. If we think positive thoughts and we really just really spend time in the sun, spend time meditating, spend time breathing fresh air, spend time thinking positive thoughts, it really creates positive loops. And like I said also in the beginning, it's not just about eating well, it's about how you eat, right? So
very important, yeah.
Really important, spending time eating with your family and friends, and really
just chewing the food in your mouth. Just chew the food before you eat it.
Yeah.
No, we drink everything. You have a good smoothie. It has everything on it, but you just drink it. It doesn't do much.
It doesn't do very much. Yeah. Part of it, a big part of it is an emotional process, right? That we deprive ourselves from, and that's why a lot of people end up overeating, is because we have this still emotional need that's not being met. And the emotional need comes from, actually, we're missing the social aspect of it, or we're missing, kind of the sensorial aspects of it that are not there anymore.
Yeah.
Anyone else has any comments or questions? I see some familiar faces over there from my choir. Hey, I miss singing too. That's why. How are you? Yeah, it's a lot of things we're missing these days. Singing, interacting with each other. But I think one thing that we really are allowed to do more is, by being at home, instead of, being frustrated with gaining weight or whatnot, like really try to rebuild this relationship with food, and see it as your not your enemy, but someone that can help you shape the life that you want. So you wake up and say, what is it that I want today? Really meditate on that. Think about what is it that you want and how you want to enjoy it, and what company, and in what ways, and really experiment with it, right? Because food is about, we have that gene in us that's really about, we were born in the caves, hunting for food, gathering food, and we miss that element of really discovering what foods are good for us, what foods are not, going up on the tree and getting that food. And that, in some ways we can mimic that, right? So really going after your foods in the fresh street markets, and really, cooking it and seeing the different combinations. It's a really important part of nourishing yourself too. So
I always give an example of birds. If you look at birds, how beautiful they are. They're not fat. They're always good shape, because they always look for their food. They always, I mean, they only eat seeds. They don't eat no steaks. Yeah.
They sure don't.
That's why I love seeds. Just eat seeds. As you said earlier, it's really
good. The people who are sick, they can go to nature and they will recover immediately.
Just being in the nature. Sorry for stopping you. Right. Just being in nature, taking your shoes off and touching the soil with your feet. It's a big deal. A lot of people don't do that.
We spent 2 months in nature.
And you forgot about any disease, right?
Yeah, we didn't have any allergies. My husband always has allergies, had 0 allergies. My daughter didn't have any problems. I didn't. And then yesterday I took her to her pediatrician, and we measured her weight and height. I didn't tell you, Mom. And it's like, she grew it's the biggest leap in height and you know, in accordance to that weight too, that she grew 5 centimeters in 3 months, and that's something that has never happened before. She was kind of like stagnated, and you know, just like the power of fresh air and nature. And we were getting like this organic baskets delivered to our door and cooking at home all the time. I mean, it's not easy, you know.
Even here in the state, if you go to farmers markets and you look at the organic section and the regular section, sometimes it's a very small difference, like 25 cents, 10 cents, and you can get, and you can taste the difference between organic bananas and with the regular bananas. It's only 10 cents difference, but it really makes a big difference.
It's a little more in Brazil, but it's well worth the investment. You know, it's like, if you do you want to invest in the healthy foods, or do you want to invest in you know, going to the hospital later with problems? You know, that's kind of
and buy a lot of drugs that harm your
pharmaceuticals, things like that.
But in most cases, people prefer to even spend money in drugs than getting
it's crazy, right?
Because they got trapped. A lot of people got trapped in the system. They use, I mean when you go to the doctor, you're not going, they don't want you to be well, they want you to stay sick, to stay in business. It's sad. It is reality. I'm serious. Don't go to a doctor. If you got coronavirus in America, don't go to a hospital, just stay home, you'll be okay. You go home, they make you sick.
Yeah, that's right.
I promise. I mean, you know, all these numbers. Oh my God! Even if I mean, I don't know. They say in thousands. I don't think everybody has coronavirus. Some people. I have a friend. He has a heart problem for a long time. So he passed away a month ago. They say it's coronavirus. Okay, what can you say?
Anyway. It's something we'll only know when, you know, when dust settles and we do the real counting. You know, even in epidemiology, we don't really know, we won't know all the rates and everything until, you know, maybe a year after it's all done, actually, because it's all, you know, it's still a lot of it is estimation and based on a lot of, you know, projections. So it's not exact science, unfortunately, and we're dealing with something unknown. So, you know, policy making is oftentimes very, you know, you think it's based on really on real facts and figures, but it's unfortunately it's not. You know, I've been there and worked in that world. It's a lot of it's projections. A lot of it is very much, you know, it's based on politics too, right? So unfortunately, but you know, we really need to. I think. These webinars, I really want to give people sort of the positive side of the story, where they have all the tools to really keep themselves healthy. And today's on nutrition is really, the message is that we have, you know, even though it's gotten much harder, like Mom said, you know, because our foods are, you know, our soil is not as good. You know, we have all the packaged processed foods, industrialized foods, but we have the option. And actually, the more we support those small producers and organics, then the more we're supporting the world where we want to live, right? Because it's a political movement where you go to organic market versus the regular store, because you're supporting them and you're financing them. So if you're eating, you know, meat from the conventional stores and you're complaining about, you know, forest deforestation, you're really contradicting yourself. So I think it all starts with small steps that change your life, but also you're influencing much bigger things in the world. So that's always my view. I really, I think we're coming to I think we already went over a little bit, but it was a really amazing discussion. Thank you everyone for being here. It really means a lot, you know, to get this participation, to get your feedback. And I really hope to see you in the next session. So, for those of you that, I don't know if you've been here, Larson, before, but we have an English-speaking webinar one day, you know, 1 week, and then alternating Portuguese speaking. So I can bring a lot of different.
I'll learn Portuguese then. Just
okay.
Sounds
good.
Why not?
Sounds good.
Russian.
Yes,
And
you know,
Russian. Next one
this
will be Russian.
yeah, the city I was born in Morocco, it was built by Portuguese when they were in Morocco.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
well then, you know,
Yeah.
you'll
It's
understand
beautiful,
some of it.
very quiet, beautiful, peaceful city.
Yeah.
Mogador, we call it Mogador.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
All
first
right, thank you so much for everything. Thank you.
Thank you
Great,
guys.
you.
Thank you girls.
Thank you.
Really nice seeing you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.